Hey everyone, it's Celebrate Truth. I'm Robbie Davidson. I've got a great one for you today. I thought it was crazy enough when they were proposing a cell phone tower. That's right, an LTE phone tower on the moon. As you can see, Vodafone mission to the moon 2018. Oops, you missed that timeline getting your phone tower on the moon. That was crazy, right? I've done videos on this. I'm going to link to the playlist in the description. Check it out if you want to laugh at some of the crazy stuff that space is saying they're able to do or they're going to try in the near future. All right. Then we got into this nonsense. We got floating skyscrapers. That was one of their proposals. But really, seriously, we come to this? A space elevator to the moon could be doable and surprisingly cheap. Are you kidding me? This gets crazy. You don't want to miss what's coming up next. I mean, really, seriously, a space elevator to the moon. This just broke. This is the news. This is on NBC. I linked to the article in the description. Check it out if you want to read further. But I'm going to go into this article because I just had to do a video because this is getting ridiculous, people. A space elevator. Look at this. Let's just stop and just look at this for just a second. How ridiculous is this? When are people going to wake up? This is all complete nonsense. They throw stuff out. Elon Musk can say that we live in a simulation and everyone applauds him. Yeah, he's brilliant, wonderful. He's going to save the planet. We live in a simulation. The fact is, they can come up with anything. They can say whatever they want and people eat this up. They go crazy with it. A space elevator? Are you kidding me? This is so ridiculous. I'm going to try not to laugh while I'm reading it, but probably that's not going to be the case. Because guess what? For only $1 billion, they're probably going to be able to do this. $1 billion to build a space elevator to the moon. All right? Let me think here. It's been 5 decades and they still haven't even gone back. They didn't go in the first place. But when are people going to wake up to the fact that nothing is going on? The technology that's going backwards is in space. Everything else is excelling, but space is going backwards. What do we hear? They've destroyed the technology. We cannot rebuild it again. It's getting ridiculous. But I had to do a video on the space elevator because are you kidding me? A space elevator. Look at that. They even have an animation. Ooh, look at that. We're going to go to the moon in an elevator. I read just recently that they're proposing a space hotel by 2024. All right. Next year is 2020. People that are watching this video understand that this is 2019 as this is being recorded. They say these things, nothing ever happens. Let's read what Jeremy Husu has to say. Since the dawn of the space era, more than 6 decades ago, there's just been one way to get to the moon and back. Rockets. Wrong. They've never been there. Don't buy to the lies. But a pair of graduate students say we should now be able to ferry humans and cargo between Earth and our natural satellite via a sort of high-tech elevator. Look at that. $1 billion. Any billionaires out there want to build a space elevator to the moon? Seriously, please share this video and wake up maybe someone, your neighbor, your friend, your loved ones. This is ridiculous. This is an NBC News, and this article, they're actually saying we can do this. By when? Oh, I think they say 2024. But I digress. The idea of space elevators isn't new. Spaceflight visionaries have been talking about them at least since 1895. Oh, isn't that nice? Science fiction. But Zefron Pinero and the Emily Stanford envision a system that would be used not to ferry humans and cargo from Earth's surface to Earth's orbit. The goal of so-called classical space elevator concepts, but to provide transportation to and from the moon. To and from the moon on an elevator. Is anyone, I don't know, I know it's early. I know it's early in the morning for a lot of you. Maybe it's late at night. I'm not sure where you're tuning in with this, but a space elevator. Are you kidding me? In a study published August 25th on the Online Research Archive, the students contend that it's technologically and financially feasible to build such a lunar space elevator, which was first described by the spaceflight scientist Frederick Zander in an unpublished notes from 1910. Oh, it's feasible. Oh, and it's technologically and financially feasible, they say. Oh, let's do this, NASA. Forget the rockets. Forget all that stuff. Let's build an elevator. It shocks me how cheap it would be, says study co-author Pinero, a graduate student in astronomy at University of Cambridge, adding that the $1 billion it might take to build such an elevator is within the whim of one particular motivated billionaire. All right, let's stop here right now. Let's go to one of the videos I did here in 2017, just in case you're going, maybe an elevator is doable. What about this nonsense? This is something they've proposed. And I had to put a laugh track behind it because, honestly, when you see stuff this ridiculous and people are actually buying into it, if you read the comments on these videos, people are all excited. This is going to happen. Stop for a second and think, logistically, how incredibly crazy a concept like this is, and yet they're saying it's doable. "2021. All right, NASA. We'll see if you're flying meteorite, asteroid. It's just so hard to keep up with all this nonsense. And this is even crazy too. Seriously, this was something, and I knew it wouldn't happen. They're proposing a cell phone tower on the moon. People, wake up. Seriously, do you have a cell phone? Do you have an iPhone? Do you have an Android? What do you have? Do you have something that's like in the last 4 years? You got LTE. Okay, I go out into the country, I lose reception. All right?
Can you hear me now?
I got LTE. They're going to put this system on the moon so that people can talk to people on the moon through a cell phone tower. No, let's not use those satellites. Satellites, I thought, were up there. What about a sat phone? Related to the satellite, down to Earth, makes sense. Your infrastructure's there. You got about, 20,000 satellites up there? No. Let's just go with LTE technology. We know it's so good. We know it works great in areas where there's no reception, or you go out in the country and tower reception is not that strong.
Can you hear me now?
People are getting boosters. You can go out, go to Best Buy, buy a booster to boost your signal. You see all of these things, and yet they're going to send LTE technology to the moon with a cell phone tower. Are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. We are cooperating with Vodafone in order to provide LTE-based stations on the moon.
Can you hear me now?
Becker, who heads embedded. Let's just stop right here because I uploaded this in August of 2017. All right? Look what it says here. And it's really funny too. Part-time scientists, they're not even full-time. They got jobs and we're just part-time scientists. But again, NASA being full-time can't do nothing. And yet you got part-time scientists that are doing stuff part-time. And they're going to launch in 2018 with SpaceX as a secondary payload on the Falcon 9 rocket. All right. They were going to put on this the cell phone tower on the moon in 2018. You kind of missed the boat there. And again, there will be no cell phone tower on the moon, even in 10, 20, or 50 years. Again, these videos are linked in the description. It's a playlist I created called Funny Flat Earth Videos Laughing at Science and Space. You got to check it out. There's so much good stuff to laugh at. NASA, there's all sorts of things. The 10 Commandments of Scientism. It's a lot of laughter. But let's get back to the main article that I found this morning talking about, let's go back. That's right. An elevator. An elevator to the moon. But as we're going to read, they're talking about different ideas, maybe not quite just to the moon, maybe not right to Earth, maybe just kind of 80% of the way, and then that will help cargo. It's just completely ridiculous. Along a very long cable. So, anyways, the graduate students in astronomy at Columbia University and co-author of the study call their lunar space elevator concept Spaceline. That's cool. Spaceline. You can just see the commercials right now. Spaceline, the elevator to the moon. Its central element is a cable that would be anchored to the moon and span more than 200,000 miles to a point above Earth's surface, perhaps an orbit about 2,700 miles from our planet. The cable of lunar space elevator wouldn't be anchored to Earth's surface because the relative motions of the moon and our planet wouldn't permit it. Nope, can't do that. As explained in the paper, the simplest version of the Spaceline cable might be barely thicker than lead in a pencil and might weigh about 88,000 pounds. Within the payload capacity of the next generation NASA or SpaceX rocket, it could be made from Kevlar or other existing materials rather than the exotic and hard to make carbon-based materials that have long been seen as a key to building a classical space elevator. Ooh, a classical space elevator. Are you kidding me? Future space travelers would use a spacecraft to fly from Earth to the end of the dangling cable, which would be held by Earth's gravity, and then transferred to solar-powered robotic vehicles that would climb up the cable to the moon. All right, yeah, seems legit. The voyage might take days or weeks. Return trips would simply reverse the process. Okay, all right. Why spend hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars erecting a lunar space elevator instead of relying on proven rocket technology? All right, they say in their paper that the former might ultimately be more economical, especially for bringing raw materials back to Earth from moon-based mines. A paper published by the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous, estimated that a lunar space elevator system might pay for itself within 53 trips by transporting lunar materials to a space station between the moon and the Earth. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm going to even be able to continue this video. You know, I really tried, but seriously, they're going to be able to pay for the space elevator. Let's go back to the space elevator. I got to see it one more time. Let's just look at that. Just look at that in all its glory. The space elevator will cost probably about $1 billion, they're saying, and that's what they're doing. All right, let's go back here. Mining the moon. For years, experts have been eyeing the moon for potential source of valuable raw materials ranging from helium-3, a heavy version of the familiar gas that could find possible use in fusion reactors, to rare earth minerals. All right? A space elevator is like a railroad. You don't build it unless you expect a lot of railroad traffic, says physicist Marshall Eubanks, chief scientist at Space Initiatives, a satellite technology company in Palm Bay, Florida. He calls the calculations used in the Spaceline paper sound, but cautions that Earth-orbiting satellites could collide with the colossal cable. A potential problem that could be mitigated by keeping the cable outside Earth's orbital space lanes. I can't even speak because I'm laughing. Look at this. And they even have a poll. All right, so go there, vote on this. This is ridiculous. Actually, don't even vote on it because, again, it's all nonsense. Do you think we should build a space elevator to the moon? All right, your two choices are why not? If it could help us mine the moon, it sounds like a good idea. And what's the other option? No, there are better ways to spend $1 billion. Well, definitely there's a lot of ways better to spend $1 billion than imaginary fairy tales. Like, this is just complete, man, I'm telling you, it's just crazy. Despite the potential advantages over rocket transport, neither lunar space elevators nor classical space elevators have gotten much attention from space agencies or aerospace manufacturers. NASA has funded occasional studies. All right, so if you want to know where your $56 million per day is going, some of it is going towards studies building space elevators. That's where some of the money of the $56 million per day that NASA is getting currently is going. Some of it, a fraction. Maybe not a lot, but a little bit is going to studies on space elevators. All right? But as for now, there is no SpaceX for space elevators, even though companies in China and Japan have floated proposals for building classical space elevators by 2045 and 2050, respectively. All right? 2045, 2050. One thing that's frustrating is the lunar space elevator idea doesn't have much traction. And yet, it's a feasible idea. And economically, a game changer, says Space Initiative CEO Charles Radley. Anyone know who Charles Radley is, the CEO of Space Initiatives? Maybe he needs an email to be like, why don't you wake up from the dream state you're in, fantasy land, and stop believing in science fiction? Are you honestly believing it would be a game changer to build a elevator to the moon? This is just ridiculousness. Let me think here. They haven't even been able to go to the moon. No country. What do we see just recently? Who was it? You had Israel. They crashed. They didn't. Again, it's all lies. But let's just go with the narrative. Again, technology advanced. You got 50 years, and nobody can do it. It was a failure. The last one that just happened. I forget. Maybe in the chat room you can let me know what was just that last one. I don't know why it escapes my mind. Who was it that just was going there? Oh yeah, it was. Was it India? It was India. I was going to do a video on it too, because you actually see one of the head of the space guys, he's sitting, somebody in the government is consoling him. It looked like he was crying because it was a failure. And then they were putting out all this news saying it wasn't a failure. India did a good job. They lost communications and all, but it went to the moon. Yeah, okay. It got to the moon. Right. Nothing ever has been to the moon. Look it up. Seriously, use your head. If you honestly believe that things were going to the moon in the 60s and 70s, with technology of a speak and spell. And if you're young, look up what a speak and spell is. There was more megahertz power in a speak and spell than in the Apollo computer. But I digress. One thing that's frustrating, we already read that about Charles Radley. Okay, the elevator debate. Here we go. Some experts say classical space elevators might make more sense than a lunar space elevator, at least initially, because it could help facilitate exploration. For example, a classical space elevator might be used to assemble a huge spacecraft in Earth orbit and then launch it from there. Experts say that they likely would be easier than launching the spacecraft from Earth, where gravity is so intense. Oh, it's so intense. It's imaginary, and it's never been proven using the scientific method. But again, I digress. But the classical space elevator would require a much stronger cable to withstand the higher forces exerted on the cable, and it's unclear when material strong enough and of sufficient length to make a suitable cable will be available. The classical space elevator is really a tough problem. I bet it's a tough problem. An elevator to the moon. Are you kidding me? I know it's early, and you probably think this is all comedy hour, and I did put this under comedy because this is ridiculous. Anyone who believes in this needs to give their head a shake. The classical space elevator is really tough problem because the Earth's gravity field is so great that you need such strong materials, and we don't have that right now, says James Pearson, an aerospace engineer and president of Star Inc. Oh, what a great name for a company, Star Inc., an aerospace company in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and the author of several papers on space elevators. Oh goodness. Oh, we gotta look up James Pearson, because he's done multiple papers on space elevators. Like seriously, can you imagine? Like that's what you do. It's like, what have you done for the last 20 years of your life? I wrote papers. I've had them peer reviewed. Yeah, but what topic? I know you're in aerospace. I do papers on space elevators. I'm sorry, man. It's pretty funny. On the other hand, you could build a lunar space elevator with existing materials right now. Oh, okay. Well, James thinks that there's complications, but hey, let's just do it anyways. Given that concern, Pearson endorses the idea of moving forward with a lunar space elevator as a precursor to building a classical space elevator. There's a lot of advantages with a lunar space elevator, Pearson says. And with this new NASA program to return to the moon, there may be additional interest. Oh, well, hopefully Star Inc. maybe gets a little bit of funding for their space elevator because, again, people's imaginations are running wild. The science fiction in Hollywood is the illusion that we're going to be there one day. The fact is, it's all science fiction. It's never going to happen because space, as you've been taught, does not exist. I know it's hard, and you're watching this and you're thinking, this guy's crazy, but honestly, seriously, look at the facts. Look at what's going on. Stop for a minute, even as an experiment, and start looking into things and go, let's just see how much weight it actually has on the very fact that they never went to the moon. That alone would open up your eyes to a lot of other deceptions that are going on in the world. If you could just get your head around the fact that in the 1960s and 70s, they never went to the moon. And the question is, if they never did go to the moon, why would they lie? That's the biggest question. I've done many, many, many videos on my channel answering that question. I would recommend watching Scientism Exposed, my documentary film. You could watch Scientism Exposed 2 if you want to continue on with your journey. The Global Lie is another great one. And Impossible, great. They're in my documentary playlist. Watch them, keep an open mind, and see what happens. I would say that the majority of people that have watched these, even if they haven't come fully on board, there's been 1 or 2 points that really made them think and sent them off on their journey to look for truth for themselves and discover if there indeed have been lies. And when you start thinking that in respectable articles and news outlets and media, when they're actually publishing something like this, NBC, space elevators to the moon are doable and surprisingly cheap. The logistics supposedly of going 248, I think it's 238,000 miles away is what they say the moon is. But just the logistics, even if that were true, which it's not, can you imagine building some sort of system that long? Seriously, it's time to open up your eyes. Look at the truth, look at that elevator, laugh, have a good time, understand that it's science fiction, and that's fine to believe as long as you know that it's science fiction. The problem is when you start believing this is reality, and the space agencies, the governments, the businesses are all trying to tell you and take your money, saying that we're going to do this in the next 5, 10, 15 years. Understand that your children, your children's children will never see anything happening. It will all be lies and deception. It's time to keep exposing the world's lies and celebrate the truth. Thanks so much, guys. Wanted to do a quick video on this. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Have a good laugh. Share this video. It's ridiculous. Elevators in space. Come on. It's time to really take a stand. Be bold. Maybe you'll get a couple laughs from your friends and family, but then you guys can laugh together because it's getting ridiculous out there. We need to stand for the truth. Blessings to y'all. Take care.